Why is their skin color? Why does that preclude you or make you adversarial to other people? We're Americans. Why can't we just on the base level? Why can't we just take care of Americans? And then
Exactly.
if we have excess, then we can talk about helping other people. But when you're waving your flag, your foreign nation flag on my soil and burning my flag, why is that not infuriating Americans across all?
Exactly. And isn't it one of the requirements when they become citizens or accept their green card, they have to say that they are not having allegiance to another country. They're trying to say, and here's the thing, just going back to the whole point. I hate the whole community. Oh, my community, the LGBT community, the black community, the Mexican community. And then if you start saying the white community, oh
Oh,
my gosh, oh,
yeah.
You're racist,
racist.
white supremacist. Hey, welcome to the X-Ray Podcast. My name is Julio,
My name's Robert.
and we are today again with JJ. JJ, you've been going crazy on TikTok, Facebook, and X. We have a couple viral videos going through. Like, how many we have? Like two or three already.
Yeah, with
And
over a million plus is crazy.
yeah, and we got one in Facebook, getting close to the 800,000 views. And we talked about this back in April, and I cannot believe now everything coming to fruition and all this stuff is going on right now. You've been speaking about it for, I would say, years.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the show one more time.
Oh, I love being on your show. I think this is the third time I did. This is the second one on
This is
video,
the
and was it? And we have one in person, right?
yeah,
One in
we got
person.
three videos, one in person right now.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. I just remembered 30. So I appreciate the time you give me, man. A lot of your content with me and you has been going viral. I can't see on TikTok because they blew me up and destroyed my TikTok account when I got too
yeah,
big. But you send me stuff and I'm like, holy smokes, that's over a million and growing. So you're right. A lot of that stuff that you and I discussed months ago is now coming open, and people are like, yeah, there's illegal aliens inside of our houses of Congress, and yes, this is destroying America's sovereignty. And it's like people are slowly waking up, right? Do you feel that way? That there's
Yes,
awakening going on in
definitely.
America? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And it's crazy because I seen one of your clips and it was like months ago, and where I think you were talking about the law enforcement and how this Hispanic officer was talking about my people. And it's like you made that question like, my people? I mean the American people? What people are you talking about? And it's just alarming. And this was months ago, and then now you see what happened with the LA and all that,
Hmm.
and it's just coming to fruition, and it's just like, you know it's just scary.
It
it is scary.
is. And the thing is when you start hearing people, and I heard this through my career too, because obviously I'm a white guy. I was born in Massachusetts. I moved around the deep South. I'd call the deep South my home during the high school years, and I spent 25 years in San Diego. When I've heard people say "my people," I always look at them like, why am I not your people?
Exactly.
We're Americans. I don't look at your skin tone. People don't understand. Also, is as a white man, I was the minority in my own agency. My agency is 60+% Hispanic. I never look at guys like, well, you're my guy. We're Americans enforcing law. Why is their skin color? Why does that preclude you or make you adversarial to other people? We're Americans. Why can't we just on the base level? Why can't we just take care of Americans? And then if we have
Exactly.
if we have excess, then we can talk about helping other people. But when you're waving your flag, your foreign nation flag on my soil and burning my flag, why is that not infuriating Americans
E-
across all regions?
exactly. And isn't it one of the requirements when they become citizens or accept their green card, they have to say that they are not having allegiance to another country. And what
Yes.
you're just explaining with them waving their country's flag, or they believe their origins, right? Like I'm second generation, um, so I have nothing to do with that ties to Mexico. And for them to wave this flag that they're not even affiliated, you
Hmm.
know, they're they're giving allegiance to that flag, and they're violating the very oath that they took when they decided to take the citizenship or to get the green cards. And I just find that disturbing. And like you, I find myself like, why am I the only one upset about this? You know,
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's
that's what
crazy.
makes America great is if the real truth of America is nobody cares about their skin color. Like if someone said to me, "Hey, tell me about Julio," I wouldn't say, "Well, he's Hispanic," and I would just, "Oh no, Julio, he's a great guy. He runs X-ray podcasts. I've been on his podcast. He's really smart." That's the real America. The lie that the left has told us is that we're divided because of race and ethnicity and sexual preference. And the reason why they do that is they have to balkanize us. They have to pit
Yeah.
us against each other. And be quite honest, they're winning. They've done an excellent job of it.
Exactly. And it's because for years, us conservatives stayed silent on them. Oh,
Uh-huh.
because we believe in the whole freedom, and
Yep.
let them,
Let live.
yeah, exactly. And then guess what? We allowed them in their school system. They
Mhm.
indoctrinated all the kids, and I was part of the school system that they failed, right? And so the public school system. And so now you got people, just indoctrinated with this left, and they're trying to say, and here's the thing, just going back to the whole point, I hate the whole community. Oh, my community, the LGBT community, the black community, the Mexican community. And then if you start saying the white community, oh my
Oh,
gosh, oh,
yeah.
You racist,
racist,
white supremacist.
I guess the line is white, it's just, I don't know. It's just, but you're right, I believe Ted Cruz said that we're like one vote away, and Trump is just a stepping stone, a huge boulder, which I
Yeah.
hope it wakes everybody up.
Absolutely.
We talked about this just briefly before I came on, is that I really believe this is the age of awakening. We're being we're being told things that are opening our minds. We were joking about flat Earth. You interviewed Flat Earth Dave, who I'm a huge
Correct.
fan of. But when you begin to pull yourself back and look at everything that we have been told throughout of our lives, it's been a lie.
Yes.
It's been a
Yes.
lie. Like we're
Yes.
going to sit here. Like I'll give you an example. Did we go to the moon? If you press me, I would say no. But let's. That's not even my point. Let's just say that. Let's look at the what they told us that eventually ended us in the moon. They've lost all the data and all of the procedures. They burnt them. They lost in a fire or something. My son at 12-year-old is watching the moon landing, and he's watching President Nixon on a phone, on a landline that goes into the wall, that goes into a wire outside. And he asked me, "Dad, the president was talking to the men on the moon from a wall phone?" "Yes, son."
I know. I
So,
know.
so if they lied, if that's the propaganda they lied to right now on that, what else has they lied to us? We've been
Yep.
told our whole lives that a bunch of illiterate slaves built the pyramids. Well, wait a minute. Now we find out there's columns under the pyramids. The only pyramids were in Egypt. No, pyramids now are all across the globe and they're
Yep.
aligned perfectly. Wait a minute. So, what else have you lied to us about? You've lied to us about COVID. You lied to us about AIDS.
Oh yeah.
You lied to us about Vietnam War and the Ukraine War. Everything needs to be questioned on this at the least surface level. It needs to be
Exactly.
questioned that you're lying. We have been lied to our whole entire adult lives. At least that's how I feel.
And you're absolutely right. And I appreciate like Dave and stuff, even though, I don't agree with what he says. And but people like him is important. People like you that has that strong voice. Don't mind the lights. We're going through some power outages, but um uh the thing is, you are absolutely correct. We've been lied at. And all this brings people to question everything that we're being taught, which I so agree with that. We need to question everything because just because you're telling us something that sounds good, well, let me digest it good. Don't have me accept it blindly.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think right now there's just so many unknowns that we don't have answers to, and the answers that they're giving us seem so familiar to the stuff like landing on the moon, for example, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, your son just debunked something so simple. Like, how do they communicate? I mean, we right now can't communicate in certain areas
Yeah.
right now. And the moon in the 50s. Come on,
Yeah.
really?
Well, we had better technology back in the '60s than we do today. That's why.
That's true. Yeah,
That
that's true.
that they had better. I mean, when you begin to look at the moon rover, it was lawn chairs. They put lawn chairs on the moon rover, and then we took a capsule and we exploded them out into space, and then they got in the orbit and shot them down to the and a bunch of parachutes. I mean, I stopped. You know what? You know what's
You know,
great? And I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at me. Like I'm thinking two things. Propaganda is so powerful, right?
yeah, it
They
is.
teach you, and then I think, God, how was I so stupid? How did I look at this when I was young and never questioned it? But when you look at propaganda, it's so powerful. Look why does LGBTQ XYZ insanity? Why do they have to be in the schools? Why is it so important to sexualize our children?
Exactly.
Because they
Yep.
teach them that men can have babies in kindergarten, and you just, oh, okay, everyone told me it's true. Okay, and now we have the generation that believes men can have babies, and now our generation has to come back and go, no, you're wrong. Oh, you're
You're
not
bigot.
enlightened. You're a
Yeah.
bigot. You're stupid. Look at you're so, and then they box us in. That's what's happened throughout American history now. I mean, since I would go back to like the 1880s into the early 1900s and realize what the hell happened to our country. You
Mm.
turned over the
Chicago. Look at
treasury.
the buildings of Chicago back in that time.
I Flat Earth Dave got me into this. He says, I want you to watch old history, and literally I'll tell you how this powerful it is. I take my son in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. You would never believe this. Des Moines, Iowa has the largest skate park in North America. Des Moines, Iowa. So it's only a couple hours away. So I take my son there. He's big into X Games, and we do it. And I'm looking across the river, and I see the Capitol building of Des Moines, Iowa. And instinctively, I look at that building, I look all the other buildings, and
Take
nothing
a
is
flat
like
earth
that.
day.
And I go, damn it. And I look at my phone. When was it built? 1880. 1880.
That's crazy.
And I see
What?
pictures of it. There's nothing but wood structures all around it, like saloons and dirt roads. But that building was built by cart and buggy, horse and buggy, and chisels. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. I can't, on an intellectual level, I cannot lie to myself anymore. I have to ask the question, how was that built? Who built that? It wasn't the guys in the horse and buggies. I built. You're trying to tell me that 2, 3, 4,000 people built that, and yet they lived in squalor and had no indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I know.
It,
It's
it,
But
it's it's hidden in plain sight, right? How do you
it,
hide things in plain sight?
yeah, it is true. I mean, if you've seen the video of Obama talking about, in order to manipulate people, make people believe you flood this, the
Mhm.
airway for the sound wave with enough garbage that they become to a point they don't know what to believe anymore. And the left is perfect. Is they've been doing. I mean, they undefeated on that realm because they just like propaganda, 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 24/7, papers, airways, radio, schools, colleges, everywhere,
yeah.
and they are able to basically silence the right. But it's the time to speak up because I believe in the next 20 years to 40 years we're gonna have leftist Islamic foundation in America, and we're
Yeah,
not.
that's the other
Oh,
scary thing.
I know
Yeah.
we will not be able to take it back. Look, London. London took 10 years to fall. 10 years. Look
Mhm.
at it now.
Yeah, and see, the scary thing is, back to the point real quick to the whole how do we get tricked into this? And
Hmm.
I invite everybody to think like this. That's like, for example, I don't believe in what Dave believes, but at the same time, I'm acknowledging that I am also subject to brainwash. That
Mhm.
the thing is, humans, as all, no matter how smart you are, we're all subject to brainwash. So then you ask yourself, because he brings good points. and I'm still in the process of digesting all that and finding out. But yeah, he's bringing very valid points. And now with this Islamic thing, tying it to this conversation, you're correct. In 10 years, I mean, look how long London and UK has like it's been falling, and they're censoring it so that way it's not just out there. You have to dive in to see it. If it wasn't for Elon, for X, we wouldn't know about all those poor innocent girls getting game raped by, SA by these
Grooming gangs.
refugees.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Well,
know,
I mean, before I know we're going to talk about the Islamization of America and how it ties to the border, but and you talked about Europe, so let's set the stage of what's going to happen to America if we don't stop this. Because I'll give you 3 data points. UK, the top 10 cities in the UK have Muslim mayors.
Mm.
Muslim mayors.
scary.
In Ireland last year, out of all of the births, 94% of all births in Ireland were to illegal immigrants, not Irishmen. Here's another one. In Belgium, 87% of people 18 and younger are immigrants.
Hmm.
Wow,
Wow.
It's over. I believe that Europe is dead. They just don't know it. And it's not my feeling. This is just a data point. So let's look at what's happened in America and what has transpired specifically in these last 4 years. We have allowed over 180 nations out of 195 nations into America illegally under Joe Biden. And we're talking millions of single adult military age men from the continent of
scary.
Africa and the Middle East. Let's just take one thing. This will prove my point, and I want your audience to multiply this by 10, 20, 30, 40. Joe Biden, when he left Afghanistan, he allowed 86,000 Afghanis to come into America. Every single one of those 86,000 was unvetted. I've talked to the agents that actually took them. When they brought in the Afghans, they didn't know their names or they couldn't spell their names, and they're a lot of them are on some ancient calendar, what makes them 300, 400, 500 years old. So what the CBP officers did is they gave them brand new names, brand new birth dates, and released them into America.
That's scary.
86,000. That's scary.
That's scary.
And then when you listen to people like Sarah Adams on the Sean Ryan podcast, and you listen to people like me that knows the data, you need to be frightened. In 4 years under Joe Biden, the Border Patrol arrested and released over 200,000 special interest aliens. Those are terrorists, guys. I don't care how you cut it. If they're either from a terrorist nation, like they're a courier, or they're a head ISIS recruiter. And we're seeing this now. We just saw Tom Homan's ICE arrest was 11 Iranians as high up as ISIS recruiters. This is
Yeah,
happening in America. This is not disputable, meaning if you guys were left wingers and you were interviewing me, I would tell you this is not disputable. These are hardcore facts that you have to accept. They're coming from the government. We're seeing arrest of these people. We have thousands, if not millions, of illegal alien sales. I would go in front of Congress again if I was forced to swear an oath again to tell the truth, and I would feel comfortable stating openly that there are at least 1 million plus terrorists in a nation in the last 4 years because Joe Biden allowed them to come in. I would
and
feel very confident.
we were just talking about something similar of this nature. I live in rural area. It's called the cut and shoot, right? It's what it's called, cut and shoot Texas. And I hope this gets viral. But there, around and Joe Biden, there's and I hate to profile this person, but he looks Arab, and he bought this 20-acre compound and he fenced it up like 10-foot high wall, and it's like what's going on there, and it's
Yeah.
close to my house, and I'm just like, someone's funding this. I mean, this guy looks like he doesn't speak good English, and I'm just concerned, like, man, what? And then we found out that in Texas, there's so many of these compounds that have like 10-foot walls, like privacy fence all the way.
Yeah.
Well, here's something that has to be discussed because my whole life growing up in the Border Patrol, I heard about Texas, Texas, Texas. Texas is a great state, but I want you guys to understand you are the epicenter of everything that's wrong on immigration. You are the
Yeah.
epicenter. Why? Because
Yep.
you, of the 2,000 southern mile border, you own 1,250 miles of it. You are the epicenter of child sex trafficking, child detention facilities.
Yeah.
You're the
That's
epicenter
true.
of all of the illegal aliens coming. And now you now are the epicenter of Islamization of America because those people that crossed the border illegally or came through some boondoggle pathway that Joe Biden through Mayorkas set up, you now have immense population of Sharia compliant Islamic people in your state. How
Yeah.
do we know that?
I
You're building Epic City, and people are freaked out about Epic City.
yeah.
But you've already built multiple communities already that are Sharia compliant.
Yep. No,
This is
yeah, you are correct. Yeah,
yeah,
you are right.
you are the southern version of Dearborn, Michigan. That's
We
what
just
you
don't
are.
know it yet. We
You
just
don't
don't
know
know
it
it.
yet, but you're going
Yeah.
to find out soon enough because they can't contain themselves in that community. Why? Because a family, a Islamic family, are reproducing at a 5 to 8 children each. They're
That's true.
reproducing
Yeah, that is
up
true.
to 5 times the rate of American citizens. This is a numbers game, guys. That's all it is. And we're on the
Yep.
losing end of this math equation.
And we run into that problem right now. The Islamic or Muslim are buying regular shirts, Christian shirts, and
Huh?
disguise them for mosque and for prayers. And now they have a city, I believe in Michigan, I believe, or Minnesota.
It's Minnesota
It's Minnesota. The JD Vance
and
and
Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan were talking about it. They are calling for prayer. They have a, I believe,
5 days.
it's a 5 days. Yeah, they
Five
calling
five
in.
times a day, Islamic prayer, called a prayer.
That is
Is
crazy.
that is crazy to believe that 20 years ago we were bombed by a attack in 9/11 by Muslims. They found
People in
the I
sandals and
yeah
caves.
they found the ID, but they couldn't find the seat of the plane. But they found the IDs, and they got us into a 20-year war. Now we are they basically running for mayor in
Yeah.
New York City. I cannot believe that.
What if, okay, that's a great point because what if I told you the day after 9/11, however that happened, you want to talk about having questions, right? How does
Yeah.
building 7 fall on itself because it was hot, right?
Correct.
So when I look at that, and my question to people is, if on September 12th, if I told you, and you're a New Yorker, and you watch your family die and everything incinerated, I said to you, quote, the Muslims that did this, in less than 25 years, you will have calls of prayer in your streets in New York City, closing down the streets because so many Muslims will be praying. And there's so many Muslims in New York City now in the future that you are going to vote in or potentially vote in Islamic jihadists from Uganda. You would have
Oh wow.
stoned me. You would have said I was a mental patient and I was crazy, but I'm not. That's what did America do? Did we shut our borders down from Islamic jihadists, which we should have
No.
done? No, we said, let's show
We
you how
elected a
compassion.
president.
Yes. Oh, we elected a president named Barack Obama, and we brought in millions of Muslims into America. We funded our own demise, guys. And now we are going to have to fight our way out of it. Don't you dare think for a second that I'm right-wing extremist and we're going to have to fight our way out of this. Do you know that people that believed in the Islam could not be voted into political power in the United States of America before? And
Yeah, I
now we have
believe that.
allowed it. Look at Elon Omar. Elon
Mm,
Omar has
Ish.
been caught multiple times saying
Breaking
out,
the law.
breaking
And
the
on top
law
of that.
and talking about how all of her decisions are based on the betterment of Somalia, not
Yep.
Somalian Americans, the nation of Somalia. Why
Yeah.
in God's name are we allowing this to happen? And the reason why my answer to my own question is because the American man are gutless. We're
Yeah.
gutless. We're
Yep. They
impotent. We believe in things that are insane, but ultimately we're cowards. And it's
and
going to be
it's it and it's all stems from the educational system
Huh?
that basically indoctrinated all the public school area in the major cities, and
Yep.
conservatives
And
allowed
I'll
it to
also,
happen.
yeah, and I'll also blame it on our religious leaders. Our religious leaders sold us this lie that Jesus is this hippie freak and the Ten Commandments are not real and God loves everybody. You just do whatever you want. There's no sin. And you, as a Christian man, you need to kneel at the altar of secularism. And we did.
Yeah,
We
that's
allowed, they have flags, the LGBTQ flags are flying in God's houses of worship right
Yep,
now.
that's true.
and another way to back up what you're saying. I mean, look at COVID-19. They shut down the church, all the churches, and there was only what, like two or three pastors that
Mhm.
kept the church open. I mean, that if that doesn't tell you that the church is weak right now or
Mhm.
that it's falling, I don't know what does. I mean, because you're saying, a disease destroyed the faith, and
Yep.
what allowing LGBT, that is so disgusting,
Well,
in the
go one
churches.
step further, Robert, and when you understand and you see Elon Musk expose it, USAID, you understand that the NGOs that were all religious based, those religions from Jewish Family Services, Catholics,
Hmm.
Lutheran, Seventh Day Adventists, that they partnered with the United States American government and they trafficked people and children into America in 4 years, 30 million of them. Our
Yeah.
NGOs did it all for billions, tens of billions of dollars that they sold the soul of God and they sold their faith for 30 pieces of silver and they helped bring in these people. The religions are as evil today, and I'm a practicing Catholic, so I say this with great sadness. Our churches have played a significant role in the destruction of American sovereignty for money.
Yeah, I think one of the ones uh, the NGOs in the border was Nosotros Unidos or something like that. Us Always United, and it was an NGO, and it got fund from what Elon basically on Doge they exposed, and I just like, dang, those were the people handing out waters, and
Huh?
I was just so
Yep.
disgusting.
Yeah. Ryan Mata, we last time we talked about the same thing that happened in Guatemala. They had the NGOs in Guatemala
Mhm.
pulling the kids out, and we were doing the map real quick, and there were over 100 children being smuggled out every single day out of Guatemala, and the parents were looking for those kids. So it became to a point that like those kids were kidnapped,
Mhm.
trafficked to the U.S. and sold in the black market for mm, various reasons. You know what I mean? We people saying we are speculating, but that is the truth. I mean,
Yeah, that is the truth.
that is the truth. And people, it's hard to believe for some people to be aware of what's going on in the United States. And you stated various times that United States is the biggest consumer of child pornography
Which is
and
disgusting.
child sex in the world. And sadly, we're having a cancer that we have to eradicate, and that is that. That's a mental health, and those people are beyond. I would say beyond. I would say that like impaired. That they're not machines, but beyond.
Beyond
They cannot be
redemption.
rehabilitated.
Yeah,
Yeah, beyond
No.
redemption, they
and
can be rehabilitated.
and
Well,
it's kind of hard. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, I was just gonna say because gonna change it to the next subject, but still stemming to this. But it's kind of hard that we're fighting this battle within ourselves,
Mhm.
within ourselves. But then you got, and I believe from my little in listening to your content that you also agree with Candace Owens that um, we got outside forces that are influencing our government as well. Like, I hate to say it, Israel, and I'm not talking about the people of Israel. I'm talking about the deep state of Israel. They have their own deep state too, like Bibi Netanyahu, right? And it's almost like they're funding all this to destroy us, and we're also fighting within ourselves, which is it's how do how do we find an answer to fight this fight?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I do believe in Candace Owens is being is scoriated, right? And
Yep.
Yeah,
and it's similar. I'm not putting myself at her level by any means, but when I testify in Congress or when I write books and I go into a podcast or somebody interviews me or somebody challenges me, and they do the same thing as they do to Candace Owens or name a conservative podcaster, and they never attack the message, do they? They
No,
always attack the messenger.
the
And
character. Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you an example. JG, you're crazy. Kids are not being trafficked. Tim Ballard is a crazy Mormon womanizer, blah, blah, blah. And people say to me, Tim Ballard, he's this and that. I go, stop. I know Tim Ballard a little bit. I disagree with all that. However, let's play the game that you're right. What does it change about the message of children being trafficked into America? And they sit
Hmm.
there stunned. And I say, nothing changes. You don't like me. You think that I'm a white nationalist, all that. Fine. Let's play the game that's what I am. What does that change what I just said? Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. And you go back, Julio, and you say, well, people say, well, that the smuggling of children, you're exaggerating. No, we're not. We've been validated because RFK Jr. came out in front of the president in a cabinet meeting and said that HHS was the principal vector, that's his words, principal vector that enslaved children sexually. And then he comes in front of Congress 2 weeks ago under oath and says the federal government of the United States of America is the largest child sex trafficking organization today. They have lost over 500,000 children into sexual slavery and bondage. That's the
Wow.
Health and Human Services guy,
Wow.
not J.J. Carrell in a documentary or a
Yeah.
podcast. I have been professionally validated. And when you say, are there outside forces? Absolutely. Have you ever asked yourself, why are there foreign flags being waved in the houses of Congress? What in the F is going on?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
every time that I say something like, you know what, I really don't like what they're doing in Sudan. I don't like their civil. Oh, you're a Sudanese. You hate Sudan. You hate the Sudan people. No one
Exactly.
ever asked me that. But the moment I say, wait a minute, why are we going to war for Israel? Oh, you're an anti-Semite. You hate Jews. And God said that you have to love Jews. No, he didn't.
Well,
No, he didn't. God never said that. Never. And they like
never
to,
exactly.
I'm not a theologian, but when they started in on Genesis, Ted Cruz says, Genesis said that you have to, if you curse Israel, I'm going to curse you. So I went right away to my Bible. I opened it up. I went to that verse and I went, oh, that idiot isn't even that scripture's
Close.
wrong. He
Yeah.
quoted it wrong. It's propaganda. And in my brain, I've heard that forever. That God says you have to honor Israel. You have to be with Israel. I'm going to curse you. And then I was so propagandized, even in my 50s, that I have to open my Bible and go, oh, dear God, I was lied to my whole life about this. This is not true. I don't have allegiance to Israel. What happened to the New Testament? The New Testament
Exactly.
doesn't take over the Old Testament. I'm supposed to, no, if you're a Jew, the Old Testament is the
Exactly.
law.
Exactly.
And then listen, I love this discussion, by the way. Thank you. Because it's all tied together, guys. It's all tied
Yeah,
together.
I do. I agree with you there, and I
The,
think
the
your voice
propaganda,
is important.
Robert, think
Yeah.
of this propaganda. My wife and I just had this conversation. I said, sweetheart, we've been propagandized. I'm supposed to believe the greatest ally of America, the greatest ally of a Christian, is a nation that mocks my Savior, mocks him, calls him vile names, spits on him in Israel, and hates everything that I am. That's my greatest ally. We have been propagandized to believe that Israel is our brother and sister. That's not true. They hate the Savior that I worship. How
Yep.
can that be my great ally?
I mean, I guess people forgot to watch Passion of the Christ.
Hmm.
You know, um, but here's the thing, JJ. Um, the scripture when if you want to call it Quran or Old Testament, God was talking about the country and the government of Israel at that time.
Yeah.
And then at certain point, God turned his back on Israel uh, with Jehoiachin, son of King Solomon, and he separated it from Jerusalem to Israel, and then Israel went and got captured by the, point is, what that verse that they want to bring up, whatever, that's in the Old Testament. But Jesus came and started a new covenant. And as a
Mhm.
Christian, the Jewish people are my brothers, just so the pagans are my brothers, and I'm a pagan, and but I'm saved by the blood of Jesus.
Mhm.
So that doesn't mean that I have to find my loyalty to a country that has nothing to do with what that verse was talking about, because Jesus started a new covenant. Of course, like you said, the Jews are probably not going to like what I'm saying, and you're right. It's crazy how we were propagandized to believe that the people that spat on my Christ, on my Savior, and who crucified him, who chose a murderer to be released rather than
The Savior.
the Savior. So yeah, here we go believing that, and they're my best ally. Really, I love how you just said that.
Yep.
Well,
Uh,
I have a litmus test when if I was president of the United States, this is how I would gauge all of my foreign activities and foreign wars. If Israel wants to go bomb Iran, that's fine. I'm not going to follow them because this is my belief. If my beautiful son, that's going to be 14 years old next month, in 4 years, I have to send him to war. Am I going to send my son to war to fight you for Ukraine or fight for Jews or fight for Mexicans, Canadians? If I'm not going to send my own son to potentially be harmed, burnt, miss limbs, or die, I'm not sending your son.
correct.
Lindsay, I don't ask, don't tell Graham, has no children. I'm not
Mm.
going to allow Lindsey Graham to send my son to war because you believe in this spreading democracy bull crap. We've been in
Exactly.
war in the Middle East, guys, for almost 3 decades. Can you
Yep.
explain to me what we've gotten from that? Anything,
Exactly.
anything positive?
Nothing.
Nothing,
Not one thing.
nothing, not one thing. And then Israel wants to go to war. I'm not an anti Semite because I don't believe in Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't trust him. I don't trust their liberal government. Hell, I don't trust my government. Does that mean I'm
Exactly.
anti
Yeah.
American? No, that means I'm a
Exactly.
patriot.
Exactly.
Damn.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yep. And
That
that's a problem that we have. We've been in wars for so many years, and we've been lied to. And every time, and we see what Trump did. Trump bombed the nuclear sites. Not even hours later, Iraq attacked Iran again. When Trump tell them stand back,
Yep.
let's come to the table, let's negotiate peace, and then all of a sudden, hours later, just Iran just like three or four sorties of airplane destroying more stuff. And
well,
Trump was pissed about it because he knew. And that's the point when I realized like these people are
yeah.
trying to drag the United States in another never-ending Middle East
Mhm.
war,
And
and
see,
we'll be there for 20 more years.
this is where I disagree with Candace. Like, I'm giving Trump grace, and my daughter even tells me, like, uh, why did you give him grace for doing what he did? But had it been a deep state operative president like Bush, Obama,
Mhm.
they would have sent troops on the ground at
Yep.
Right
that
away.
point. But Trump, what he did, oh, the problem is nuclear sites. Well, just bomb them, get rid of them. Nobody thought that he was going to do that, and he did it. That's why he didn't communicate with anybody, and he just did it. And so he destroyed the issue. So now, what are you going to say, BB? What? Why do we need troops now? So
Right.
he kind of cut their ability to do that, which that's why I kind of like what he did.
Yep.
Um, Now, I do see that BB was trying to get us into a war, and it's
Absolutely.
clearly evident that what he was trying to do, and as far as like, you know, oh, Trump's being brainwashed, I don't think he is. I just think he's playing it safe because the big beautiful bill, he has to unfortunately, play politics to gain some support
Well,
because
I wasn't a big I when Israel went in and bombed them, I knew okay, they're going to drag us into this. And
yeah,
Yeah.
me
I will
too.
give Trump a lot of grace and a lot of credit. He went in and bombed it, and then, like you said, he pulled back and said, "I'm not putting ground troops in. We did what we had to do." Now, and then, but the moment that happened, all of the major right wingers, and I don't even believe they're right wingers, but I call them
Yeah,
neocons, Mark
the
Levin,
rhinos.
Mark Levin, uh, Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham, what did they all say? They all started chanting regime change, regime change.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. That's not our place. Our place is not to do that. Why does the Middle East hate America so much? Has anybody ever asked themselves, why do they hate us so much? Have you been there and seen what we've done to their countries? We've
Mhm.
annihilated them.
Go figure. Yeah, no figure that he does.
And let's I always like this. Let's flip it. Like let's flip Iran and Afghanistan and Iraq. Let's flip it and say they had the power and America was subservient. And they came and bombed America to smithereens and then brought their military here and made our women go into burqas, made us pray to Mecca, took all of our
Oh yeah, we
resources.
would hate them.
What would the three of us do? We would go day in and day out trying to kill as many of them as we can get our hands on.
Yep. Then we would be radicalized, you know?
We would be
Yeah.
radical Christians, right? Radical
Yep.
Christians and radical patriots.
Yeah.
Why is it okay for us to be in those countries to spread democracy? Our founding fathers hated democracy. That's when I
Mhm.
knew it. I knew it
Yep.
when George Bush said, God spoke to me. I always think people are crazy when they say that. God spoke to me, and because we need to spread democracy. And I was like, oh my God, we're
Oh
not a
man. We're not
democracy.
even under democracy.
We're not even
We're a Constitution Republic.
that's not even in the Constitution at all. Not even once.
Yeah, I know. But that's the lie that they get us.
Yep.
That and you know, I say get us because at one point I thought we were a democracy. And then I'm finding out, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, we're a constitution republic. I
Yep.
know the
Yeah.
difference. We elect, you know, and it's just, oh my gosh. And the thing is, like you just said, if had it been the other side, we would be considered radicalized. And you know, this if people are hearing this, we were just talking bad about Islamic, and now we're talking good. Just to let y'all know, we're not Islamic phobic. We're actually just stating the facts of concern of certain ideologues that are writing, like for example, there's bad Christians too, you know, that are joining that wave of Christians and really having darker intentions.
Well,
So
how about this, Robert? How about we just take care of America
yeah,
and not import all the third world? And why are we wrong to want to maintain our cultural norms or societal norms, our demographics, the way that we do things, our religion, our language? Why are we evil for wanting that where Japan, Russia, Iran, China, you name the nation, they have their demographics laid down. They have their cultural norms, societal norms, and they don't want it interrupted. Why are they okay to want and demand that,
yeah,
but we are
exactly.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah, the moment we do it, they tie us with Hitler, nationalist, and it's like, whoa, whoa, wait. Being a nationalist is not bad,
It's not
you
bad.
No,
know.
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, you know. I'm a nationalist. I'll say it, you know.
Yeah.
I want my country to succeed. I want number one, America first, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you said it right. They propagandized us through our school system and our religious organizations that America was created on ill-gotten gains from oppression, slavery, and imperialism and patriarchy. We've been lied to for generations. Former generations don't believe this crap. This
Yeah,
is this is new. This is propagandized.
that's true.
And we used to love America. But when you rip off your America's great glasses and you put on I hate America, I'm a Marxist, when you look through those lenses, everything makes sense. Everything our
Yep.
government is doing now, the people that run our government. And you asked a very important question. What do we do to combat this? And I'm going to tell you, unless Trump and the person that succeeds him stays on a absolute terror on MAGA, meaning driving this and driving
Yeah.
the money changers out of the temple. If we don't do that, we're either America's going to fall or we're going to
Hmm.
have to get into a violent, kinetic war for the soul of America. I don't want
Exactly.
that, but
I
there
don't
is
either.
no look. You guys are critical thinkers. I think I'm a critical thinker. I don't think of present day. I'm looking at present day and I'm thinking, okay, if I do this, these things are going to happen. If we do this, these things are going to happen. There, it's limited what the outcome is going to happen to America. And one of the manifestations is a absolute takeover of our country, destruction of our demographics, our social cultural norms, and then what's left? A remnant of America either kneels to this new America and becomes part of this socialist Marxist, or history proves that the remnant rises up and there's a war. Now, who wins that war? I don't know. But this is not in a vacuum, meaning this isn't just happened in America. This has happened
Yeah.
throughout the history of
Yep.
civilization. And to think that America is exempt from
Yeah.
human nature is absurd.
That's how we'll lose the war. And all this comes to mind. Thomas Paine. What did he say? I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time, so my children can live in peace. And
I believe in that wholeheartedly. I don't want my
me
son
too.
fighting this. I want
Me
to fight
neither.
it.
Yeah. If it's gonna come, let it come right now.
Yeah.
Because but the thing is, man, what you just said, honestly, the world is going through it.
Mhm,
When Trump won this election, uh, there was a lot of other governments that had their Trump version
mhm.
uh, leaders.
Yeah.
And what did Mark Zuckerberg said when he came to the table? Because I saw the interview with him and Joe Rogan, and he was like, uh, Joe Rogan goes, so what made you come to the Trump camp to
Mhm.
talk about that? And he said something. I don't know if it was a slip up or whatever, but he said, well, the whole world's moving that direction. There's like an awakening to the people. And I was like, wait, did you just say that? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and honestly, it's people like you, people like Candace, people like Tucker Carlson that are not willing to lose their selves just for the fear of censorship. Like you said, they removed you out of TikTok. Okay. And see, that's another subject right there. If Trump, if this somehow gets towards the administration or whatever, that TikTok needs to be free like X, because this we can't. It starts with platforms like that. Uh, I believe that will give us the tools to fight back against these many years of indoctrination from the left.
Well, I, I
You know
think I think the left did not know, and none of us knew, like 15 years ago, that podcasting. What the hell is that? They
exactly.
they did not account for podcasting and social media going back to the masses, and because of podcasts, that's where everyone gets. I would say not everyone, the vast majority of Americans get their news from. I don't
Mhm.
watch Fox News. I
Me
don't
neither.
watch. I watch. You know what? And no, truly, where I get my news, I get my news from X. I use X as the new Google tool, and then I watch shorts on people
Yeah.
that are quote experts, and I can get into 5 to 7 minutes. I can get more information from an expert than I would do watching Fox News for 6 months.
And the
Right?
other tool too is Chat GPT. You know, I I know that's probably supporting our human demise against AI, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guilty on using that. And I do the same thing. X, Chat GPT, it, combined it, and I get so much information.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. For
Everything's
sure.
changing in the world right now. I mean, Julio, think about this. Think about when I was in Houston in your awesome studio. That was what, 8 months
Uh,
ago?
April. It was April. It was a few months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but think about that time, what we were discussing, to right
Hmm.
now what we're discussing. That's not like a 10-year period. That's like a 6 to 7 month period where you're like, what just happened? Like, that's how fast things are moving,
It's
and
more fast.
and the world's changing. Um, and I really believe the days of, well, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna just kind of let, no, no, no. You better pick a side,
Yeah.
because either side, the left or right, is going to run you over. You're going to be the low hanging fruit to be destroyed. You need to pick a side. And I would like to ask both of you this. I believe if America is going to have a revival, it has to coincide with a spiritual revival, meaning God has to be brought back
Yes.
in and be
Yes.
acknowledged as the center. If we don't have that, nothing's going to change. Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm off?
I no, I agree with you 110%.
Yeah.
200% if I could.
Yeah. Me too. Because
Yeah.
this is going too far too far to the cliff. I mean, we're getting dangerously close. There's no barriers, and people are falling. People are falling through. I mean, you see all these LGBTQ in school. Like, why toddlers need to be indoctrinated in sexuality? Like,
Yeah.
why is it such a big issue? And then we try to push some common sense. They call us homophobic. Like, really? Like, are you really trying to do that? For little children, they don't know what left to the right. They just like play around and eat dirt. That's what kids do. You know what I mean? They go outside and play. And just let them be children.
Exactly.
It's simple. Let them be children. Let them figure it out. And studies say most of them, when they grow older, they just grow out of it. You know what I mean? Some kids want to be dinosaurs or Superman,
Yeah.
and some girls want to be
My sister was a
stuff like
tomboy for all of it till she was like 14, and
yeah.
then she went back to girly girl.
Hmm.
After that, it's just, I
Well,
don't know how.
think about how evil the world is. Like I was telling my son, I said, look, when you were born, if I would have had a conversation with my friends when you were born 10 years ago and said, look, man, I see us trending in a decade from now. We're going to Our family members, moms and dads, are going to give kids puberty blockers and then rip their genitals apart and off their body and create them to be a new sex, and that men are going to be able to have babies. What would those people say to your father? And my son looked at me and said, well, they would say you're crazy. And I said, that's the point. Within a decade, we have gone into the mental asylum. That's where we
Yeah,
Mhm.
live right
we
now.
did.
We live with
Yep,
people that should be on lithium right now.
yep,
And we sat by, men
Yep.
like us sat by and
yep.
allowed this to happen.
I'm,
How did
I'm.
we allow this to happen?
I mean, remember, and we're all old enough to remember this. There was a time when I would tell you, hey, they're going to allow gay marriage to happen, and everybody's going to be all hunky dory.
Mm-hmm.
That right now is like everybody won't believe that, and whoever's just being an adult now, they're going to be like, oh my god, that is so scary. How do you? No, I mean, and for the conservatives, look how fast I was one of them. That's never going to happen. Boom, it happened.
Yep.
That was like, okay, well then if that happens, then they're going to want the restroom. And I have a friend she's a lesbian, and I told her, if we allowed the whole restroom deal, now you're going to have them pedophiles coming in here,
Uh-huh.
and look, boom, it's happening now. So it's
Yeah.
just like
And
we
you know
just gotta be
that
vigilant.
Yeah, and the LGBTQ community likes to say, "Well, you can't put the pedophiles in this," and I'm like, "No, no, no, absolutely, I can, because you brought them in. You
Yeah.
brought the maps. You brought
Yeah.
this in. This is a perverse group of people in our community, and we need to be able to speak it the way. Look, all three of us are Christian, so my call out to Christians are, I don't get to choose what I like or don't like in the Bible. I either
Yeah,
believe in God or I don't. God says this is a sin, it's abomination, and this is what will happen to you if you allow this to happen. So you either believe in the Bible and Jesus or you don't. And I'll give you a great example of a group of people that absolutely believe what they believe. Muslims.
yeah,
There's no LGBTQ flags or parades in their country. They
yeah.
say it and they state it openly. That's abomination. We will not have that in our culture. Period. Period.
And and honestly, to just a joke, I guess at this point, but they have to believe it because if they don't, even if they're in America, they'll be like, okay, we're gonna go to Pakistan over there, and then
Mhm.
they punish them over there, and then they come back, all beat up and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
I
like,
And,
give
and
him that. They're consistent on
yeah,
their belief.
they
Whether
are,
it's either good or bad, at
yeah,
least they're consistent, and I have to give him that.
yeah. That is correct.
but there is a slippery slope theory, and it is real. And we go back, you go back to the gay marriage. When people started talking about gay marriage, they were saying this is a slippery slope, and everyone chastised people like me, going,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's crazy." No, do I want gay people to have the same rights like married couples do? Absolutely. The Constitution provides for that. That's fine. But a marriage was under a religious ceremony.
Yep.
You don't get to hijack that. Do I want gays and lesbians to be stoned? Of course not. But why is your sexuality has to override common sense and morality in America. You don't get to
Yeah.
do that. It look, Julio, if you came and met my son, and then I left the room, and you started to talk to my son about sexual morality and heterosexual, I would say, Julio, get the f out of my house. Who gives you the right to talk to my son about sexuality and religious morals? Who did my wife tell you is okay? So if I won't let a heterosexual friend of mine talk to my son, why would you assume that I think that your sexuality is perverse, that you get to talk to my son and talk to him about your morals and values? When did that become okay? When did
See,
it
I
become
love that.
okay?
I
Yes.
love how you just, I love how you articulated that right there. That is very important. A person that, a friend, man, you just, I just love how you just articulated that. If I won't even like my friend teaching this to my child, what do you think I'm gonna let a stranger like a teacher do that to my kids?
No, I
Yep.
want you to, you're a teacher, or
Oh
you're
man,
or you're a government official. I want you to teach my kid what I'm sending there to be taught: math, reading, writing. The moment you deviate from that and talk politics, or you begin to talk to my son, look, we have transgender counselors in school that have one-on-one time with your child in a closed environment. Why would you think that's okay? Why would you
Mm.
think, if you had a beautiful little, I don't have a daughter, but I have sisters and I have nieces, beautiful little girls, and you see them at swim team and swim meets, and you're telling me that it's okay for men to go into bathrooms with
yeah,
those sweet,
no,
innocent girls? Look,
No.
I'm watching my son run track, and now he's in swim. And I'm watching these girls, these beautiful little girls from like 7 years old to 17, giving everything they have, their whole all, to try to win. And I think, why would anyone allow a boy to go in there and steal that from them?
Yeah.
yeah,
Where in the hell are the American men? Where are they? And I'll tell you, the vast majority of American men are cowards. They're
yep,
impotent. They're afraid. They've lost their way in their marriages. They no longer are the head of the household. They become feminized because culture has told us we don't need men. So when you remove God's natural order, what do you think is going to happen? Look at the society we live in, guys. It's absolute effing chaos. And if
Hmm.
you
it
think
is.
you think it's normal, you think this what we're living in is normal, you are a mental patient if you
Yep,
think that this is normal.
yep, I
Yep.
agree with you, bro.
Absolutely true. Well, we had to wrap it up. I have another interview. We're gonna bring in another hour say after this interview. It's gonna be another expert on NGOs. 'Cause I would like to speak about the NGOs on San Antonio, which is like not even 2 hours away from
From
us.
us, yeah.
So it is.
Who are you
This is
talking to?
Fernando.
Oh,
Hernando,
I love
yeah,
Hernando.
So we're gonna have a feed. I think we're gonna put this together.
yeah.
We're gonna do this in a
But one thing before you go, JJ, just gonna homework. But I would love to hear. I'm gonna follow you, but whenever you get a chance, what do you think about the Brigitte Macron and Candace Owen
no,
and Candace Owen? How she got a phone call from President Trump?
that's yeah.
Is that insane?
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
insane?
Mm,
The dude,
So
it's a dude, you know.
he's that chick is a dude.
Is a dude.
Look, I know my I'll leave you with this. You brought up Macron. All of that is happening in front of our face.
Yeah.
Have you
hmm
have you gone and looked at some of the wives of our politicians? Why don't you
mm.
at the same time go look at the linebacker that's married to Chuck Schumer? Chuck Schumer's wife is a dude. Go look it up.
Oh man,
Just
No.
look her.
I've heard
Go
about it, but
look.
I haven't seen. I'll go look. Yeah.
You go look
Oh,
and you tell me that chick is a chick, right?
you know what?
So what's happening? They have been doing this, and why would prominent politicians be married to dudes? Think about that's a big question that you need to follow up on, or at least
Hmm.
ask yourself. Go look at his wife and tell me that that dude is not a linebacker.
You know what, JJ? And it happened not even in politics, but in the entertainment industry too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
It
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's been like, man, we've been like
Oh,
invaded
that's
from
a dude.
within. Let me see
That's a dude.
something else.
That's a dude.
Look at that jawline.
I know that's a dude.
Motherfucker's chisel.
Yeah, that's a dude.
He got that.
It's but think about you have a President Macron that has a million things to deal with, and he asked Trump to ask American podcasters to stop looking into the fact that he's married to a man. Holy cow. Then
Yeah.
that means he's married to a man.
Yep.
Yeah, and we were talking
And
about
on
it
top of
yesterday.
that, a pedo. You know?
Yes. At the very least, let's say that it's that chick is a chick. She was a pedophile
He was
with
like
him.
13 because remember there was like a there, and I don't know if you knew this,
Yeah,
but there was a letter that or no, a clip where she said when I seen him, or he said when I seen him, I fell in love, and they found out that the first time they met he was 13 and she was like 40,
Yeah.
I think, or 30 something,
Holy smoke!
somewhere on there in late 30s,
She
early
looks
30s.
like ET. She looks like ET.
She does look
No.
Seriously,
like ET.
she does.
You
It's
heard it right here.
oh my god!
It's
ET Macron.
and ET was a
E.T.
male.
Macron.
ET Macron. Oh my God. We are living in the most wild, insane times in
I'm
the
gonna
world.
make that a shirt.
Yeah.
Hey,
E.T.
tell
Macron.
Hernando that I said hi. He is awesome. And you want to know
Yeah.
what's going on with NGOs and on in the on the floor. This is the guy. This is the guy to talk to. I love Hernando. He is awesome. So enjoy that interview, man. It'll be great.
Oh, I appreciate it, JJ. Hey,
Thank you, JJ.
I appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribe to the channel. Also, you can follow JJ. I will leave all the links in the description below. Have a good one, JJ. Once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, in the next future, like next couple months, we're gonna bring you back to the studio. We do some Greeno in the studio, so you're gonna like it when you come back. And we're gonna have a panel discussion. Hopefully, I'll be able to bring Hernando Arce and have you guys both in the studio. That would be a great show
Yes,
for the
for
audience.
sure.
Yeah.
And like us and follow us.
Thank you.
Bye
And
bye.
keep it civil on the chat.
Yeah, go crazy in the chat. E.T. Macron.
E.T. Macron. Thank you, JJ.
All right,
See you
JJ. Thank
guys.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.